Well, hello, we are Group 2. The topic of our presentation is From the New World to Streaming Media, the global symbolic transformation of the Volcanic Symphony Number 9. Well, here is a brief introduction about our work. Is informed by Daniel K.L. Chai's concepts. Is this study argued that streaming platforms are transforming classical music, as demonstrated by the Volcanic Symphonic Number 9. Its meaning is shifting from a fixed historical symbol to a fluid, globally networked cultural entity. Well, we divide it into 5 parts. First is the part 1, from the new world on streaming. Through an analysis of search results from the new world on streaming platforms like Spotify, it becomes evident that the symphony is systematically categorized and placed into thematic playlists, such as the Volcanic Essentials, Classical Essentials, and Dark Academia Classical. While this phenomenon reveals how streaming platforms utilize the playlist formats to extract classical masterpieces from their original music historical context and reassign them to specific listening scenarios and cultural coordinates. Well, the second is the user online comments about this work. On sites like YouTube, people from all over the world listen to the vocals from the new world and share their thoughts. Their comments are more than just say, I like that, while they connect the music to their own memories, stories from history, and ideas about their own culture. While this shows how a single piece of classical music can have many different personal meanings for different people in the internet. And the third one is in the 19th century, the symphony survived as a stable historical symbol representing American identity or Jack nationalism. While today, however, streaming platforms and digital communities have fragmented these monolithic meanings through algorithmic categorization and user-generated content. The work is continually integrated into personal narratives of nostalgia, struggle, or cultural hybridity, while thus the symphonic transfers from a fixed artifact of music history into a fluid, globally co-constructed symbol, reflecting Chai's vision of music as an emergent relational entity within a networked world. Well, we are going to talk about the part 2.
Okay, that is part 2. We'll talk about the theoretical foundation. Okay, let's move. Let's talk about Daniel K.L. Chai's Global Musicology, a keynote without a key. Okay, let's move. He said, global not as a fixed place, but a dynamic ecology. It's all about connection that keep differences alive, not make everything the same. Chai also suggests post-critical listening, understanding music through fluid global interactions, not just old, unchanging rules. For example, Dvorak's Ninth Symphony now lives in endless algorithmic flows on streaming platforms, mixed and matched by listeners worldwide. Okay, let's move. Second is platformization and curatorial power. Our PRAISE research on platformization tells us streaming services are curatorial infrastructures. Algorithms and playlists are new gatekeepers, changing how and why we listen. Editorial playlists now replace orchestras, musicologists, or textbook as the main way we judge cultural value. The Dvorak's from the New World is no longer just heard in concert halls. It's in playlists like Classical, Essential, or Focus and Study, making it feel ambient, cinematic, or nostalgic. Okay, let's move on. Third one is reception theory and semiology. Leonard Meyer said, music's meaning comes from what we expect and perceive, not its intrinsic structure. Hence, Robert Jess adds that the Eldon's core creates meaning through interpretation. On streaming platforms, features like likes, shares, playlists, and comments let listeners' voice can be heard. They turn global audiences into active co-authors of a piece symbolic life. Okay, next part.
Okay, let me introduce this case study. I will introduce this part from three aspects. Let's move on. The first one is from international to global. Historically, the Dvorak's from the New World was staged in concert halls around the world, regarded as a staple of the classical repertoire. And nowadays, powered by streaming platforms, from the New World is now embedded in a diverse network. One user may discover it in a Slavic folk music playlist, while another may search for it after hearing it in the video game or film. It is no longer just a standalone piece of folk music, but a symbol reflecting diverse identities and emotions. The second part is diversified connections of the world. Algorithms on streaming platforms breathe new life into From the New World. For instance, based on features like grand orchestration, the algorithm may associate with Hans Zimmer's film scores or Japanese anime symphonies. These connections are not routine in music history, but in algorithm characteristics and user behavior, creating unprecedented encounters and entanglements. The third part is listening differently. Most listeners don't approach the piece with a critic's ear, analyzing harmony, structure, or nationalist elements, but rather for relaxation, motivation, nostalgia, or focus on work. This mode of listening aligns more closely with Chai Kuan-Yang's concept of reflective judgment. Listeners don't impose perceived concept, but allow the music to evoke feelings naturally. Instead of debating whether this was the Dvorak's true intent, they embrace the personal meaning the music generates for them in the moment. Let's move on to the part 4.
Okay, that is part 4. Existing perspectives and arguments, polyphony of academic voice. Let's move on. Let's focus on our topic, how streaming shapes classical music's meaning and spread. Okay, move on. That is a big question. Does streaming make music fair for everyone or just turn it into a product? How do we understand this? Okay, next. This is the second part. Technological utopianism. Is one view is streaming is great for sharing. It lets more people from all over hear Dvorak's music, but there's a problem. Next. Accessibility is not equal understanding. Streaming spreads music wide, but often without context. Listener might not get its history or culture. Okay, next. Beyond pure critique. Scholars say briefly, don't just criticize streaming. Look at the good parts too. Next part. Next. People online remix or reimagine classical music for making new meanings and communities. Even in a money-driven world, music still can get creative. Okay.
Well, here goes to the part 5 is the conclusion. While the streaming area presents a duality, it democratizes access to music while also exposing it to the risks of commodification and the flattening of its deeper significance. Well, nevertheless, the study ultimately shows that classical music has not become rigid within the structure of capital and algorithms. Well, instead, it used these very conditions as fertile ground for continuous recontextualization and reinvention, thriving in a dynamic, planetary manner through global listener engagement. Now, here is the Group 2's presentation.